My husband and I really like adventures, so this time last year we planned a trip down to Moab to do a canyon called Greenery Canyon. We also really like to make people happy, which is why we invited Cousin Kyle and Cousin Steve to join us. Neither Cousin Kyle or Cousin Steve had ever been to Greenery Canyon before, much less canyoneering, so they were really happy when we invited them. Cousin Kyle was so excited that he drove clear down from Rexburg, Idaho to join us to go on this adventure. Cousin Steve was so excited that he bought brand new adventure gear. He bought a brand new rain jacket, bright red, so we could find him in case he got lost, a new helmet, a shiny new belay device to attach him to the rope when he was going over cliffs so we wouldn't fall and die, and brand new adventure pants. Steve was set to go. So we all piled ourselves and our gear into our little tiny car and we drove to Moab. Once we got there, we put all of our clothes on, adjusted our gear, and we were set to go. We followed our GPS coordinates to the opening of the canyon. And the way this canyon works is it starts out flat, and as you move along, it slowly turns into thin little canyon with high walls on either side. So as we were walking along, we finally made it to our first big rappel. My husband attached his rope to the rock, and everybody else adjusted their rappelling gear, their belay device and their harness. We looked over the edge, about 20 feet, and we were ready to go. So we attached ourselves to our harness, to the rope, and we slowly but safely rappelled down that little cliff. We all made it, and we were all thrilled that we had safely and successfully completed our first big rappel. We kept walking a little ways longer, and we came up on a little 6-foot ledge. Not a big deal, we decided. Kyle volunteered to jump it first. It wasn't big enough to rappel, and we definitely didn't need a rope. Kyle took a step back, and he leapt off the ledge and landed in the soft sand below. He made sure to clear a way so that there was room for someone else to jump in his soft sand spot. Steve volunteered next. He said, "I'll go." He took a step back, and he leapt off the ledge, and we watched and waited for him to clear so that we could jump next. But Steve didn't clear away. "Steve," I hollered down, "you have to move out of the way." Steve was sideways in the sand. He looked up. He said, "No." Okay. So we scrambled down to Steve, and we got a little closer. My husband tried this time. He said, "Steve, if you want to keep going, you have to stand up." Steve looked up again. "I'm going to throw up." And that is when we gave Steve a good 10-foot radius circle to throw up or lay sideways, whatever he wanted to do. We waited. Nothing happened. So we finally got brave and we crept closer to Steve. We looked him up and down, and what we noticed was that Steve did not have ankles. Well, he did. He had ankles, I promise, but they weren't regular ankles. They were big, fat, swollen ankles. Cankles, if you will. We got a little nervous. "Steve, you really can't stand up?" Steve shook his head no. So with that, we decided there was only one really good thing we could do, and that was to go back up the canyon, which is really hard to do considering you're not supposed to go back up a canyon. You're only supposed to go down. So we attached a leash to Steve. We hooked him all up to make sure he was safe. We did a little bit of free climbing, a lot of pulling, shoving, some awkward cousin-to-cousin butt touching, a piggyback ride, but mostly Steve did a lot, and I mean a lot, of crawling. What took us half an hour to get to the point where Steve couldn't stand up anymore took us 4 hours to get back to the car. Steve was quick, a quick little crawler, but not quick enough. What worked best was having my husband pull and tug on Steve with a leash and Cousin Kyle pushing and shoving Steve from behind. And I just took pictures. We finally got Steve to the car after 4 long, strenuous, turbo-crawling hours. We looked Steve up and down. Steve wasn't happy. He was sweaty and dirty and tired, and Steve's poor little adventure pants were shredded and ripped at the knees. You could see Steve's bare little knees poking out. Sad day for adventure pants. So we decided to haul Steve to the hospital since we didn't really know what to do with his ankles. We got him to the emergency room, and a few hours later, Steve emerged from the emergency room in a wheelchair. Fantastic! Steve had broken both his ankles. And though we couldn't fit Steve and the wheelchair into our little car, we did fit Steve and Lortab, a wonderful, wonderful drug, into the car. So Steve took Lortab, and he was very happy. And he let us know how happy he was all the way home. So even though we didn't have the adventure we wanted, we were happy with the adventure we got. And we were very happy that Steve was happy.